MJF is one of the best parts of AEW, and while he has many detractors, I think he has truly earned his place in the future of wrestling. Current day MJF isn't doing good physically, however, currently working through an injury with a torn labrum in his left shoulder. The long road of wrestling can be a strenuous one. We've seen this recently from Kenny Omega, whose body is all but completely broken down. He would suffer a nasty case of diverticulitis, and while MJF's lingering injuries hopefully aren't as severe, he has still felt the need to write a sort of manifesto regarding his intentions before this Saturday's World's End. I don't usually do stuff like this, but I have shit to get off my chest. I'm wrestling Samoa Joe for the world title on Saturday night, and I have no idea what's going to happen after that. You'll probably hear some stories about me over the next few days, about my contract, about the injuries I've been dealing with, about the condition my body is in, about who knows what else. I'm sure it'll all leak, that's fine. But AEW turns 5 on Monday, January 1st, 2024, and that f***ing means something to me. And since everything beyond Saturday feels so uncertain, I want to share my thoughts on it now. I want our fans to hear from me ahead of whatever comes next. There's a reason that workers' rights get brought up so often in conversations around AEW. It's because we have a lot goddamn more of them now. This shit isn't rocket science. Competition equals bad for management and good for labor. There used to be one major American wrestling company, now there's 2. That f***ing matters. It matters for the wrestlers who work here, since we all have jobs that literally didn't exist 5 years ago. But it also matters for the wrestlers who don't work here. For everyone in WWE, AEW means not having to work in monopoly conditions. It means more options, which means more leverage, which means more money. And I'll take a wild guess and say better treatment. And for wrestlers outside those 2 companies, AEW matters not just because it exists, but because of how it exists. Listen, if you Google me, I think it says I'm 5'11", but we all know that's horseshit. I'm like 5'8", guys. And this is a place where, simply put, a 5'8" Jew can be a world champion. If you know wrestling history, then you know that's a big deal and why. So while I welcome anyone being critical of AEW, God knows I am. If you're actually actively rooting against us existing, guess what? You're the f***ing worst. You're rooting against workers, and that's the truth. Because out of all the incredible things that AEW has done over the last 5 years, number 1 with a bullet is put MJF on TV. But number 2 is make the wrestling industry just a little bit better to work in. Cody took a chance on me and put me on the card at All In. Then Tony took a chance on me and signed me to AEW full time. But let's not kid ourselves, I was pretty much brought in to be the guy you disliked, who didn't stand a chance against the guys you loved. You know those wrestling moments we all grew up on, where some legend comes out to talk to the crowd, but then a younger guy interrupts them, is an ass, and eats a fist to the face? I think that's what they saw me as when we started. Just look at Double or Nothing 2019, our first ever pay-per-view. They had Bret Hart come out to unveil the AEW World title. They had Hangman Page come out to get Bret's cosign and look cool. Me? I said a few words, got booed, and took a punch. I wasn't looked at as being a big potential top star. But I'll never forget the moment when I went out there. I mean, picture it. I'm 21, barely a few years in the business, and I'm being told to cut a promo on Bret freaking Hitman Hart. Over 10,000 people in the arena. Something like 100,000 watching on pay-per-view. So before I walk out, I asked Tony and those guys what feels like a pretty fucking good question. What do I say? And they just look at me for a second with those blank ass stares and they're like, what do you mean? You know how to talk. That's when I realized what AEW was gonna be like, and that it's where I was meant to wrestle. Because yeah, okay, they brought me in as fodder. Tough luck. But they also gave me a chance to make my own luck. You know what I mean? Like they threw me into the deep end, floaties off, and said sink or swim. Get over with our fans or don't. And I'll take that any day compared to the other way it's been done in our business, historically. Which is, they place you gently in the shallow end, floaties on. No, actually you can't take them off, it's a rule. Also, you never get over because you look f***ing ridiculous with floaties on. But you don't sink, so that's good. And oh yeah, you're fired. Trust me though, AEW isn't for everyone. Sink or swim cuts both ways like a motherfucker. If you watched us in year 1, you know that. I won't name any names, but suffice to say, there were guys who had all the buzz in the world coming in at the start. And it turns out it was just that, buzz. Seriously, there were guys who no one could shut up about. Oh my god, so-and-so, that dude is a massive star. Then you'd hear someone mention Darby Allin and it's like, yeah, Darby's cool and all, but he's little. He's not really gonna get over. You know who the guy is? It's so-and-so. But here's the thing, it wasn't so-and-so. It was f***ing Darby, who was supposed to be too small and too weird. And is a who I've beaten twice with a headlock takeover, but still. And it was f***ing Penta and Phoenix, who definitely got dismissed by a lot of people at first as just these run-of-the-mill luchas. And it was f***ing Kingston, who's a bum, sure, but got crazy over just by being himself, a dude from Yonkers. And it was f***ing me, who was meant to top out at Cody's sidekick or the douchebag of the month or whatever. And then of course you've got someone like Hangman, who everyone said would be great and he was, prick. Bottom line, AEW equals opportunity in every sense of the word. If you're good, it's an opportunity to show that. If you're mid, it's an opportunity to show that. If you still got it, it's an opportunity to show that. If you're washed as f***, it's an opportunity to show that. And if you're a generational talent, me, it's an opportunity to show that. I want to say a few things about the people who helped build this place. Tony, yeah, he's my boss. Yeah, he's a billionaire's son. No one wants to hear about him. I'll be brief. Most billionaires' sons, as I understand it, are rude idiots who watch Netflix all day on mountains of drugs while siphoning money from mommy and daddy. Tony isn't that, so on a baseline level, I guess I respect him for being a nice guy who gives a shit and loves the sport. Tony honors contracts. If you think that's a low bar, cool, welcome to wrestling. Cody, we have a beautiful friendship, in a business where friends are like unicorns, and I'll just leave it at that. Kenny and the Bucks. I always hear how polarizing they are, and my response is thank f***. Literally every performer worth caring about is polarizing. Every athlete who I'd buy a ticket to watch, every artist who doesn't put me to sleep, I can probably count all the genuinely punk rock moments in recent wrestling history on two hands, and those dudes betting on themselves and winning is one of them. Jericho. It's really fun to shit on him, I know. Trust me, I do it all the time. But people have the weirdest, shortest memories when it comes to who he is and what he represents. Like, I respect Tony and the EVPs a lot, see above. But if AEW at the start had just been those guys plus a ragtag group of indie wrestlers with zero TV exposure, myself included, sorry but no. We would have been dead in the water. Chris gave us a legitimacy that people take so fucking for granted, now it's insane. And he didn't just make AEW feel legit, he also made AEW's world title feel legit. Which might seem like the same thing, but it's different, it's harder. And let's be clear, Chris also gave legitimacy to MJF. I mean, when he decided to deal with me for a year, I was already doing well, of course, but his buy-in cemented me. To our fans, to my bosses, to myself, it was like, yeah, go ahead and get invested in this MJF guy. He's for real. He's worth a year of Chris Jericho's time. I assure you, I'm forgetting no one when I say Chris was the biggest star AEW had at its inception, and most likely still is. Besides me, duh. The best thing you have to understand with Mox is that he chose AEW. Maybe that sounds obvious, but it's not. It's hard to explain. It's like people have these weird emotional scars about wrestling. From so many years of there being only one game in town, where it's like, okay, you wrestled classics in Ring of Honor, you were a top guy on the indies, you sold out arenas in Mexico, you were literally big in Japan, cool. Have you ever said, welcome to Monday Night Raw though? I just think there's a segment of fans who would always assume, no matter what, that WWE was plan A, but John took a f***ing sledgehammer to that assumption. He was part of WWE's plan A. He headlined there for half a decade, was their world champion, was in their biggest stable, drew money, drew ratings, moved ass loads of merch, and in the absolute prime of his career, he said, thanks for the memories, thanks for the gigantic offer, but I'm gonna try this other thing over here. That's the shit a lot of guys will talk about doing. John is the one guy who actually went out and did it. Dude has my infinite respect. The originals, Jericho and Moxley, they're the blueprint for establishing guys coming in and understanding AEW from day one. Someone like Bryan, he's a blueprint for coming in later and doing the same. But this won't shock you, not everyone has been like them. Other established dudes came in, thought of us as a parachute between forgettable WWE runs, and didn't respect what this was built on, or who it was built by, or why it was built in the first place. And while it would be fun to write a few names down right now, what's even more fun is really I don't have to, because guys like that, their laziness comes out in the wash. It shows up in the fucking work. Doesn't mean they're bad people, I just don't respect them. They never understood what Mox or Jericho or Danielson understood, or what the Elite understood, which is that the core of AEW's success came from two places: our fans and the originals. And it gets easier and easier to overlook the work the originals put in, the further we get away from it. But I remember. I remember how we just tried shit in year one. I remember how we not only stayed afloat in the pandemic, we came together and flourished. I remember how influential so many of our ideas were, and how shamelessly they all got copied, because they were new and different and good. Bottom line, growth is important, but so is what made that growth possible. I'm proud of the originals, I'm proud to be one. Our fans, they're the best. F***ing sue me. They're smart, they're passionate, which is usually code for lunatic, but not in this case, mostly. And simply put, they love and I don't mean love as in blind loyalty or love as in mark behavior. Love as in love. Love as in embracing our best stuff. Swerve and Hangman's deathmatch, Darby's stunts, Eddie Kingston's promos, still a bum. Timeless Tony Storm, the f***ing bangers that Jamie Hayter was putting on. MJF Cole, MJF Cody, MJF Bryan, MJF Punk, MJF Kenny, MJF Joe, MJF's promos, MJF's body, Wardlow being a pig and betraying MJF. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few things, but also love as in holding us accountable. When there's too much of something, or when there hasn't been enough, look at the responses Swerve is getting right now. I don't like him, but come on. Or when we forgot what we're supposed to be about. I'm sure some people will roll their eyes at this. Guess what? I don't care. I grew up a fan. I'm still a fan. AEW only works because of our fans. I'm also aware that there's a contingent of fans who are frustrated with me right now. And you know what? Those sick are still the best. They didn't magically wake up and go from loving to hating me. It happened because they hold me to the highest standard. And I'm glad I'm held to that standard. I hold them to the same. If I'm ever missing the mark, I want to know. And I want them to know when I miss the mark, the next time I'm out there, I'm going to hit the living piss out of it. And that for as long as I'm in this company, I will give them my all. During my time in AEW, I've had the highest highs, so high they're untouchable for anyone else in this business, no offense. But I've also had the lowest lows, so low, with such stupidly bad timing that I honestly sometimes think I'm cursed. Like I think maybe the wrestle gods were trolling one day and said, alright, let's create this dude who's a goat on the mic, up there with anyone bell to bell, looks electric in a Burberry scarf, is unnecessarily good at singing, and is easily the most exciting performer of the biggest boom period in decades. But every time he does something great, let's have this other dude, note whom I wish the best, eat a f***ing muffin. Or let's have someone get injured, or let's have someone else do some other dumb shit. It's like all my best moments have come with a bad moment attached. Not sure why it's worked out like that, but you play the hand you're dealt. And while I'm proud of a lot of things I've done in AEW, near the tippy top of the list is the fact that I've never made an excuse. Not one single time. No matter how much bullshit has come my way, and so much bullshit has come my way. No matter how much pain I'm in behind the scenes, and sometimes I wish you guys knew. No matter what, man, I've just done my job. What a concept. Top 5 title defenses of the MJF era in no order. Danielson in San Francisco, bell to bell. Bryan is the best wrestler alive, and for my money, the best who's ever done it is him or Eddie Guerrero. That match was such f***ing validation, and it always will be. For whatever reason, the reason is they have brainworms. People love to use my mic skills against me as an in-ring performer, as if being a great promo must mean I can't hang as a wrestler. I despise that perception of me, and I wrestle with a chip on my shoulder because of it. So when I went 60 minutes with the GOAT, to me that wasn't just me versus Bryan, it was me versus the people who think they know what I'm capable of. It was me saying, motherfuckers, I walk the walk, and I walk it with more swag than anyone you've ever seen. 4 pillars in Vegas. Speaking of chips on shoulders, go ahead and think what you want about 4 pillars as a concept, But getting to headline a pay-per-view with those 3 dudes when none of them had main evented a pay-per-view before, that was a big deal to me. And of course we heard what people were saying in the lead up to it. Why is Sammy in the main event? Why is Jungle Boy in there? Darby, on the other hand, everyone loves that emo cunt. And honestly, that offended me and Darby as much as it offended Sammy and Jack. It was like, who is anyone to tell us who belongs in the match? And then of course those dudes all wrestled like the f***ing Michael Jordan I took that personally meme. And it was one of the best world title matches in AEW history. And afterwards everyone was like, huh? Well, that was incredible. Sammy, Jungle Boy, who knew? I knew, we knew. Kenny at the Mohegan Sun. Kenny has a lot of detractors and none of them can lace up his boots. Well, his kick pads, I digress. Thanks, Taz. I think people fear change and fear what they don't know. And Kenny wrestles a style that confronts those people with the fact that what they don't know could fill 10 f***ing oceans. Is it my style personally? No. But I appreciate that it comes from genius and that guys like Kenny are how we evolve. Also, holy shit, I loved wrestling him. Cole at Wembley. Oh, look, another example of me doing something incredible and the big story afterwards being old man gets in fracas. In seriousness, to main event Wembley Stadium at all would have been something I was proud of. But what meant more is that I did it with Adam, who's become a really good friend. And 2, we did it in a match that actually felt worthy of main eventing Wembley Stadium. It sucks how Adam got injured. He was insanely good this summer and deserved to have it all play out. But I'm glad we got that match. It's forever and it ruled. Joe at Arthur Ashe. I'm putting this one as a placeholder until Saturday. Joe is a monster, an athletic freak, a legit tough guy in a world full of pretend tough guys, a living legend. And this makes no sense, but I think he's the best he's ever been. And there's a reason why we had to run that match back with a sequel. It was way too good not to. 5. I'm tired. I know that's not what you're supposed to say as a professional wrestler, especially not before a big world title defense in your hometown. I know I should take my vitamins, brother, order up an expensive coffee to the 5-star hotel room I'm staying in, thanks Tony, and end this article by cutting an 80s good guy promo about the evil Samoa Joe. Let's sell some pay-per-views, but I don't know. Man, I'm just so tired. That's the God's honest truth. My hip is a mess. My arm won't lift above my head. I'm on painkillers, which are not my thing. I can't sleep. But like I said earlier, I know it's not only me who's tired. I know our fans are a little tired of this run I've been on. And for the first time since the company started, I know there's some MJF fatigue, which is fine, by the way. No one stays hot forever. Right now, though, as I'm writing this, it's Wednesday morning. It's 3 days before World's End. It's 5 days from 5 years of MJF and AEW. And I don't know what comes next. Here's what I do know. Wrestling in the main event of a card at Nassau Coliseum as AEW World Champ, that shit means everything to me. Really, everything. People are always telling me how Long Island is part of my character. Nope, fuck you, it's home. I'm a short kid with learning disabilities from Long Island, not a character. People are always telling me how getting bullied is a part of my backstory. Nope, fuck you, it happened. Kids threw quarters at me and told me to pick it up, boy. Not a backstory. And if you think this is that 80s good guys promo I was teasing a couple of paragraphs ago, it isn't. Actually, if you want to know the truth, sometimes I wonder if standing up to anti-Semitism would even be a babyface move anymore. No, for real, I legit wonder. I wonder if being a proud Jew like I am in 2023 has actually made me less popular as a wrestler. And if deep down, when someone says they have MJF fatigue, what they really mean is enough with the stuff already. I honestly don't know the answer to that, and I'm sure I'll get for even asking the question, but that's where my thoughts are right now. It's fear the worst. I'm a Jew in America and I'm soul sick. Allow me to say this straight up, point blank. I don't support terrorism, Zionism, genocide, war, bombs, genocidal governments, dead innocent. I don't support people, any people dying because of hate. I'll tell you what I do support and what I definitely am. I'm anti-hate. I'm sick to my stomach that people are calling for the death of for something that's happening on the other side of the world. And I'm sick that a literal terrorist organization has fans on this side of the world. As on a daily basis I'm having to read anti-Semitic from all kinds of people, celebrities, hi Kanye, strangers, even people I know. It's just very sad. We're all human, man. We all deserve rights. We all deserve freedom. We all deserve happiness and respect. I really wanted to clarify these things, and I hope I have. These are the serious conversations I have with the very hot woman I'm in love with, who, by the way, is Palestinian. Sorry, I got off track. This thing was supposed to be about AEW turning 5, plus the pay-per-view. Here's the last thing I'll say about my Jewishness. If you're over it, tough shit. If you feel it's a political statement, I can't help you. If it makes you uncomfortable, good, I'm glad. If you think I should tone it down, no, I won't. If you hate me for other reasons, yeah, that's fair. Here's the last thing I'll say about World's End, and don't worry, it's toxic. I will tear the house down against Joe, or I will literally die trying. Do not celebrate that sentence, it's so stupid. If I was being smart, I'd sit this one out. I'm not being smart. I only get one first title reign, and one first title defense in my hometown. I won't tell you my entire career has been building to this, because my entire life has been building to this. And then finally, here's the last thing I'll say about AEW. Happy birthday, you weirdo. To everyone who's helped us succeed, thanks. To everyone who hoped we would fail, yikes. Sorry for your loss. My condolences truly. Order the pay-per-view though, it'll be sick. Competition is good, like MJF said in this article, and while as a wrestling fan I really don't like AEW these days, I definitely think that people who actively seek AEW's downfall are pretty stupid. I also think that more wrestling is never necessarily a bad thing, but I also feel like there is a severe oversaturation in the market today. We have Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Impact, Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, Ring of Honor, and that doesn't even include all the countless indie shows that come on day in and day out. While it's good for wrestlers to have choices of company, it's not good for fans who obviously have more things to do in their daily lives than watch wrestling 24/7. I do, however, think that things could turn around for All Elite Wrestling. I mean, look at WWE. The WWE used to be the lightning rod of the wrestling community, with everyone threatening to cancel the WWE network every other month, and now it's my favorite wrestling company. It should also be said that that expression, lightning rod, could also potentially describe AEW fans as a whole. Is the show bad, or is it just a lightning rod for wrestling fans to vent their anger and frustration towards? I feel like if AEW didn't exist, and it would just be Impact Wrestling or New Japan taking the massive vitriol from fans, and being the companies that fans would point to just throw shade at. Not that I'm saying AEW doesn't deserve part of the criticism that it gets, but some fans can be borderline psychotic. MJF writes this article like this could very well be the end of him, and I guess we'll have to wait and watch AEW World's End to find out what happens.